Look at this photograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh. How did our eyes get so red? And what the hell is on Joey's head?
I don't know. Like, what am I even doing? I thought at this point I'd have my life together, a job I was proud of, a husband, a house, maybe a kid, at the very least a full set of not stretched out thongs, and that feels like it's too much to ask. By the time my mom was my age, she had everything. Meanwhile, I don't even know what to tell her when she asks how my third date in as many days went. Can't say, "Ma, I'm only seeing this guy because I'm desperately lonely and hearing about his Umbrellas for LA Bros startup he's working on with his roommates Corey, Cody, and Connor is better than a night alone masturbating and going to bed early." So I tell her it went well. And, well, so my mom starts up on grandkids, as she always does. And I remind her she is a grandma to Sylvester, my black tabby. She has the nerve to say, "That's not a grandkid. And furthermore, cats are just dogs for people who want half the love and none of the responsibilities." I know what you're thinking. How did a woman so with it come from a bitch like that? I tell you, I don't know either, but here I am. She had a dog a few years back, Chipper. Got him after my parents' divorce. It was her dog, not mine. She would tell me that whenever I wanted to bring Chipper to my dad's bachelor apartment bachelor pad with Baywatch posters for decor. Chipper died the same day as my father. My mother was very conflicted on whether to be happy or sad and for whom to be happy or sad. She buried her dog while I buried myself in the busy work of taking down those 25-year-old Pam Anderson red one-piece posters with an odd mix of sun stains and, well, other stains. Dad died doing what he loved. Parasailing. The boat engine cut the rope and he drifted off into the Pacific. They never recovered his body. Ironic, considering his love of lifeguards. At least, I always thought it was. He took me a time or two, parasailing, and I could see what he loved about it. The quiet, the serenity, the solitude. I don't know if you've been, but you're so alone you can just scream, "I think Nickelback is the Beatles of my generation!" As loud as you want it, and no one can hear you. I guess you could scream anything, really. "Fuck you, Martha. You fucking bitch. You steal all my goddamn jobs. I hope you fucking flip your white Audi A4! I don't know who Martha is. Just like if you hated someone named Martha, but couldn't tell her to her smug yet oddly alluring face. But that was my dad. He was an adventurer. He loved taking in the wonders of the earth from way up there. Well, until he came crashing down into that cold Pacific water. And then I have no doubt he was mortified as he died a horrific death. Run over by a rescue boat. PETA. Not for him, they were trying to stop some poachers. Didn't even see him. Shredded him with the boat engines into a million little pieces. But they did save that walrus. And I'm glad I stand with my animal brethren. In fact, I had an idea for a one-woman show once. Dogs. It's like cats, but with dogs. Popular. I'm gonna be popular. That's all I had. But you get it. I'd pee on a hydrant, which would be great justification to relieve my crippling stage fright. And I felt uniquely qualified to write it because my mom had this dog, Chipper. I told you about him. and I was jealous of Chipper, so when she'd feed him, she'd walk away and I'd eat his food. So, eating the dog food. I missed out on playing Glinda in Wicked once. This close. Glinda on stage for all the world to see. In Mr. Harvey's 6th grade drama class rendition. To Gabby Slotsky, of all people, or as I like to call her, Gabby Goody Two Shoes. She always wore the best shoes to school. High tops. Jellies, platforms. The rest of the school called her Gabby Seletsky. Probably because her name sounds like slut, and also probably because she slept with every senior in school her sophomore year, but who am I to judge her for living the dream? She slept with every football player, including Jeremy Davis. He was the star quarterback for our record-breaking year. 93 losses in a row. Still a Wyoming state record, I'll have you know, and Jeremy was the quarterback that night. He looked so good in that muddied uniform. 23 sacks. That was the game he broke his nose one play, but he just kept getting up and taking the next one. I think about him often. It's a good metaphor for life. Take a sack to the face and you just get up and ask for another, you know? Like Gabby Slotsky in that locker room after the game. At least that's what I heard. And Gabby's dead now. People always act with such respect for the dead. Like, just because she's dead, she didn't take a slew of dicks, but she did. Which reminds me of my grandmother. Because she's also dead. She died when I was 7, and I remember not really understanding she was gone. We'd go to Pizza Hut every Wednesday after school because she'd pick me up. We'd get the buffet. Remember? They had that all-you-could-eat Pizza Hut buffet. It was my favorite, and I think Grandma loved that it was my favorite. My mother would get so mad. She was worried for our health, but we didn't care. We'd get slice after slice after slice till we nearly exploded with the lowest quality of cheese product that could legally be called a cheese product. At her wake, Miss Holleran, Gran's best friend, she came up to me. I always thought, she was a 2-pack-a-day smoker, I always thought I'd be the first to go. She was devastated, which I understood. I mean, I thought at the time that if my best friend Gabby, Janikowski, not Slotsky, died, I would have been devastated too. She jumped on Gran's casket as the pallbearers carried it to the site. She screamed, Barbara, Barbara, don't leave me, Barbara! I'd never seen someone so upset until then. My mother just said it was so uncouth. I didn't know what that meant, both the word and the context. I've since learned that uncouth means a person who lacks refinement, and that Gran was a lesbian with Miss Holleran and Mom didn't want the community to find out. That's what was so uncouth, but I actually think it's sweet. Love found a way, in spite of that 1990s Casper, Wyoming mindset. Gran and Miss Holleran found love in one another. They spent every day together. Well, except Wednesdays. That was Miss Holleran's dialysis day. That's why Gran and I went to Pizza Hut. The rest of the week, they'd take me to bingo. The 3 of us would go, and I loved it. I loved it so much, stamping those cards and yelling bingo. I loved it. I-24, bingo. B-13, bingo. N-26, bingo. I yelled bingo after every number they called. That was my favorite part. People hated it. I remember my gran pulling me aside and saying, sweetie, cut the shit. If you don't knock it off, I'm gonna leave you locked in the house. They really loved each other. Like, loved each other in a way you don't see anymore, and I wish I could find that. Not in Miss Holleran. She's dead now too. Plus she was like 100 when I was 7, so that'd be weird. And I'm not a lesbian. I tried it in college, but Just like in that it's a phase, kissing a girl drunk on a dare at a frat party, but would never feel comfortable around a vagina, sort of way. Grandma died of a massive coronary, so I guess my mom had a point about the whole Pizza Hut buffet. I've actually never had Pizza Hut since. I know they got rid of the buffet, but I'd love to go back and see if the pizza still holds up, and honestly, there's a lot I'd love to go back to see what holds up. You know, I haven't been to Casper in almost a decade. Got in my 2004 Toyota Corolla, drove out here and never looked back, and I wonder why that is. Am I ashamed I haven't accomplished what I wanted? I've never been Glinda. Although even if I was, even if I took the stage of the Pantages on Hollywood Boulevard, I could never go shove it in Gabby Slotsky's face. Dead. I guess I could go to Casper Correctional and tell Mr. Harvey, but I'm sure there's been dozens of Alma Glindas since, so why would he remember me? He doesn't work at the school anymore. Turns out he had a thing for young Jeremy Davis as well, so now he's in prison. It's funny, these moments we hold on to, these moments that shape us. I bet more often than not, the person on the other side doesn't even remember it happened. That's why I started keeping a diary of unimportant events. Every day, I write down in meticulous detail all the unimportant things that happen in case they're important to someone else. Like, oh, here. Let me read you this morning. Traffic was rough on the 101, but I made it to Hollywood on time. I caught a guy in a sandwich board for Cricket Mobile who was definitely checking me out. He seemed cute, but I'm still getting over Trevor, so I let it go. I was sitting at a red light considering my options. Talk to sandwich board guy or not. And then some asshole in a red Mustang honked at me because the light turned green while I was writing about the sandwich board guy, which caused me to nearly hit an unhoused woman with her stolen Ralph's cart of garbage bags full of stuff because I didn't look before I stepped on the gas. I bet that red Mustang asshole still calls them homeless. Uncouth. Anyway, she was fine. Her stuff got run over by me and the asshole in the red Mustang and a slew of other drivers, but she was fine. And then I got this incredible spot. It had an hour on the meter. Can you believe it? How often does that happen? Miracle! It was a truly magical morning. And if I didn't write it down, I may only remember the parking and not that moment I shared with this unhoused woman. And what if that comes back around again in my life, like I'm at a job interview and the person is like, I know you, and I don't remember them, and I don't get the job, and it's that unhoused woman. Or maybe it's that asshole in the red Mustang, and turns out he cures cancer or something, and he was just in a hurry to his cancer research lab, and I'd have totally forgotten all about him, so I write everything down. And sometimes I go back too, just to see what happened. Like the other day. I was looking through my diary and reading about this old corner store a few blocks from my house. This was a few years after my grand passed, and I was old enough to stay home alone from school now. And frankly, my parents didn't really have a choice because they were working and couldn't afford a sitter, so I was old enough. It's funny how that happens. Grand dies, and suddenly I'm old enough. Anyway, I was reading about how I went with Gabby every day after school to this store. Again, Janikowski, not Slotsky. And her mom would give her 50 cents for candy every day, and I thought that was so cool. I asked my mom, but she couldn't afford it, or at least that's what she said. I think she was worried for my health, what with the abundance of Pizza Hut I'd already consumed for years. But we'd take our bikes and ride by all the houses of the boys from school. Billy Garrison, Michael Williams, Corey Evans. We try out our names with their last names and wonder what our kids would look like. Corey Evans, you'd have redheads for sure. I told Gabby she was a redhead and so was he. Besides, Gabby Evans, boring. Not that I was much better off. Judith. It's 1998 and I'm named Judith, like I'm about to go hang out with Sylvia Plath. With a name like that, no wonder she stuck her head in an oven. Judith. I could spend an eternity putting my name on boys' last names, but it was all just a dream as I cycled past the willow trees that hid tons of cow dung. But Willow! That would have been a good name. Anyway, we were at this store, and every day she would get a candy. Reese's, Snickers, Mr. Goodbar, Airheads, every day. And every day my mom wouldn't give me a penny. But while she and my dad were at work, I found out where she squirreled away some cash. In the planters, outside the house. She spent every weekend gardening. Talk about a green thumb. And I mean, there was way more than 50 cents. There was tens of thousands of dollars in those planters. And I felt like if she had that money, she could give me 50 cents for candy. So I took some money. Funny story is I obviously couldn't eat thousands of dollars of candy, so I kept the money and used it to help move out here. I'm still living off it. I found out after my dad died that she was keeping that money separate from him because she was going to use it to leave him that year. She thought someone came and robbed them, but obviously couldn't tell my dad or the police, so she had to start over from scratch. Took her nearly a decade. So I got to keep my happy little home for years before she finally had enough money to leave him. It was really a win-win. Got the candy and my intact family unit and had the money to move out here. Win, win, win. And if it wasn't for this little book, I probably would have forgotten all about that long ago. But yeah, I'm just trying to take it day by day. I don't want to end up like my mom, alone in the shadow of a hollow life that was once so promising, destined to die less than a mile from where I was born, having never explored the world, the meaning of life, myself. I hope to look back on my life with a sense of pride and accomplishment, whatever that may look like,
I meant, did you have any questions about the script for the audition?
Yes.
Oh. No. No questions.
Okay then, whenever you're ready.
Willow Paulson. Reading for woman. That's my banana. So don't touch my split.
Great, thank you.
I can do a full split, just these jeans are a little tight.
Got it, we'll be in touch.
Okay. Okay, hey.